In this video, you will learn how to quit porn and how to date more girls, and it's all thanks to the interview that I did with Josh Hudson from the YouTube channel Pinnacle of Man. Enjoy! Hey guys, I want to introduce you to Josh Hudson from the YouTube channel Pinnacle of Man. He's a licensed therapist with 10,000 hours of professional practice, and he has helped thousands of men overcome their porn addiction. Josh, thank you so much for talking with me today.
Thanks for having me, Fernando. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. Well, let's begin with my first question, which is basically, what led you to help men with their porn addiction?
I mean, it all started with a personal struggle. I think like most men who come into this space, they have their personal life struggles. And there's that quote, your mess becomes your message. And it's really true.
Totally.
And or every master was once a disaster. I like that one too.
Yeah, I like that quote.
I was a disaster, Fernando. I mean, I know a lot of men who are struggling, but I was watching it multiple times a day, watching some of the most disgusting, deviant stuff. And as you know, but some of your audience maybe don't know, I was sitting there one day, I was trying to go on the streak of like 88 days. My goal was to hit 90 days and I was almost there. And I came home from the gym and I was super excited, and something just told me to look at a couple of photos like most of us do. And that led to one of the worst binges in my life, and I felt so disgusted with myself. I wanted to take my own life. And at that moment I decided that something had to change. So that's when I sought out help from my Dr. Sanchez, my mentor at the time, and just started learning about this, and worked with addicts in all fields, drug and the whole addiction process, and worked with sex offenders. They all addicted to porn. So I saw like the most, what my life could turn into, which was a huge warning sign of not like, if I didn't solve this problem, what could happen, which was a blessing. And ever since then, I started putting content out there and people kind of resonated with it. So here we are.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I can relate a lot with your story. And at what age did you start consuming, let's say, pornographic material, for lack of a better word?
I remember the exact day I was exposed to it. I had an older brother, 2 years older than me, and he had some friends come over and they bought a VHS. How old I am? They bought a VHS tape, right, from who knows where, and they put it on. It was actually they bought a couple actually, and we were sitting there watching it, and I was just like hooked, right? And then I remember they all they all left, and then they were going to be gone for a couple hours to get food, and I was by myself. So guess what I did? I just like watched the whole thing, and that's kind of what just sparked it, man, completely.
Yeah, so you were basically a very young kid.
I think I was just turned 12. So
yeah. In my case, it was around the same time. It was around 12 years old.
Fernando, I get on my Instagram, I get like kids as young as like 11 and 10 years old emailing me, DMing me, telling me that they're struggling. It's just like, it's awful, man.
Yeah, and it's very difficult because at that age, it's like we as men are just like kind of programmed to look at beautiful women, and that's the main problem, I guess, and the fact that our brain can't differentiate between what's real and what's not. Let's say 3D real. Let's say.
Yeah, man, it can't, like, if we perceive something, it is reality to us. No matter, even if you can consciously know that this isn't actually happening, your brain can't tell it. At least so this part of the brain can, right? The prefrontal cortex, but the part that motivates you, gives you emotions and urges, that can't tell the difference, and all the dopamine. So like that's what's being affected, and it can't tell the difference between real and fake. So.
Yeah. And what was the age when you finally, let's say, began to get rid of this compulsive behavior?
My first attempt was in college, and that's when I got to the 88 days. I was like, and then I struggled with it still after I learned that method. I did pretty well. And then the relapses became further and further apart until, man, it's been, I have my contract in my room, but I don't know how many years, but it's been multiple years since I've gone to it.
Yeah, personally, well, I went like from 11 years old to like 25 years old, like watching porn, like, man, at least every week. No, at least every day. Yeah, it was like that kind of frequency. And that's when I just hit it rock bottom. When my previous romantic relationship ended, that I just thought, well, I have to get my life together, man. I mean, I'm going down, and I'm going down fast. So yeah, I have to do something about it. And I ask you this question because I think both guys have struggled with porn at least 10 years. And that's what, well, if not more. Yeah, that's what, at least 10 years. So And in my case, that was one factor that created a lot of shame for me, because it was, oh my God, I've been watching this thing for like 14 years, 15 years, and oh God, I can't seem to get out of this.
Yeah, man. I mean, over half their life, exactly. And so of course, guys, I have this disbelief that they can get over it, but that disbelief is the one thing that's going to hold you back from quitting, actually, more than anything else.
Yeah. Okay. Why do you think this addiction, this problem, is so widespread? Like, well, at least from what I have seen and read, it seems like every man across all the countries, across all ages, is struggling with this problem right now. Why? What's your opinion on that?
That's a great question, man. And I have a hypothesis, and I can tell you what my hypothesis is. Of course, I don't know for sure. I can only base it off of thousands of guys I talk to. It's a couple things, man. The first is, there's that evolutionary part that you brought up, that like, imagine, people were introduced to, like, we only knew how to eat like normal food, and then we somehow introduced sugar into the world. Somehow sugar came down from an alien spaceship. We knew how to grow sugar. People would be like, this is amazing, right? We know how to control ourselves. We wouldn't know the damaging effects. And with pornography, we're going to see in the next 20, 30, 40 years, we're going to look back at this time and be like, we were exposing children to a drug, right? Much like when cocaine first came out back in the States, or, alcohol, like, people didn't see cocaine as like a drug. Dentists used it, right? And then they're like, oh, crap, this has some negative effects on our brain chemistry and all this stuff. So I think science has to catch up a little bit. So that's one of the reasons: lack of education, lack of awareness, which is where your channel, my channel, and our channels come in, like sharing studies and all this stuff on the cutting edge of like what's actually how this affects people. So that's one, is lack of awareness, lack of education, the ignorance. And I think the other thing, man, is like, we're getting more and more disconnected from people. Like, in Guatemala, like it's more family oriented, right? More interdependent usually. Yeah. But as cultures get westernized, and it's like independent, I can be by myself. And it's like, we really value independence, which has a lot of positive benefits to it. But because of that lack of connection, isolation, loneliness is higher than it's ever been before. So because of that, people are going to go escape to find connection through the means of pornography and social media, which never actually satiates or that desire. So I think those two factors, the lack of education and the isolation, are the biggest reasons.
Yeah, I can totally relate with the isolation part, because at least in my case, the times when I felt the most alone were the times in which I consumed the most amount of porn.
Bingo. Yeah, I have guys in my program doing exercise, Fernando. Maybe you know this one. I ask guys, like, what's one moment they were with other people, they're having a lot of fun, and then I ask them, what was their urge out of 10, 0 to 10, and they all say 0. Right? Exactly. They didn't want to go escape and watch porn. They were having so much fun. They felt connected. Yeah. And there's a good study, which I won't go into the depths of it, but if people want to look into it, it's called Rat Park. Just look at that study and you'll see like how powerful it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a good study to understand kind of the mechanics behind why loneliness drives people to compulsive behavior. Because I've read a quote that said something along the lines of, addiction is the opposite of connection. And yeah, it's very true. Yeah.
Johan Hari wrote a book, Lost Connections, where he talks about that. Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. So here's another question. What would you say to people or to the guys who comment on Reddit or YouTube comments that say that porn is healthy? Because there's a lot of bro science around the fact that, well, porn is healthy, porn is the same as sex, whatever.
Yeah, man. I think it kind of touches into lack of awareness. But look, there's people out there, Fernando, and that like whatever our brain is wired a certain way, mine and yours, and where it's like the way we were raised and the way we were. I was a loner growing up, introverted. I'm not sure if you were like that, but so like I was more prone to something like pornography, where there are people out there in the world that can watch it and they don't watch it compulsively, and it's not a problem. It is the minority of men, 100% minority of men. Yeah. But there's some people out there when they drink alcohol, for example, it causes them to just go off the deep end, drink until they pass out. And some people they can drink a glass of wine and be okay. So there's some people that can watch pornography and be okay with it, but it is the vast minority of people, right? And so I think it's some of those people, and then the other people that are most likely saying it is that they're so caught up in the addiction, they're so caught up in their habit that it's like when they're watching videos saying that like, hey, this is causing this problem, they feel attacked. And they're like, screw you. Like, don't take this thing away from me that gives me emotional escape, that fights my anxiety, that cures my boredom. They feel attacked. Like, you're taking away my gift that like helps me. So that's why they make comments like that, most likely.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, because in the beginning, I felt like in exactly the same way when I started to research around is this a problem? And people would tell me like, yeah, it is a problem. It causes anxiety, lack of confidence, whatever. And I just feel like, wow, but it makes me feel good, at least on some level. But even though on the inside, I felt that it was basically destroying every single aspect of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Maybe it's a temporary feel good. And then after, how do you feel? That's the kind of main marker you should measure by.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
By the way, if you really want to quit your porn addiction, then I highly suggest you check Josh Hudson's free webinar. There, you will learn how to manage your urges, you will learn the sexual transmutation exercise that will increase your energy by 300%, and you will also get his free step-by-step quit porn checklist. Sounds great, right? Well, then just click the link in the description and register for the free webinar right now.
And well, let's say in your experience, coaching and helping thousands and thousands of men, which are the most harmful effects of porn that you have, let's say, watched in other people's lives, and well, including your own?
This is a subjective experience, right?
Totally.
But like,
yeah.
I will say what mine was and what some guys were. And I came out with a recent video on the channel talking about this. I took 4 recent studies on pornography and showed how they all connected to like leading to a dark place. Here, I'll tell a story of this guy. So like, first of all, the earlier the age you watch it, the more likely you're going to watch deviant types of porn, which is like that disgusting, depraved stuff that I kind of was going to. And I remember I told you I worked with sex offenders, Fernando. And so I remember working with a lot of guys, but they all were addicted to porn. And most of them started off normal lives like me and you, like just normal guy, nothing wrong, no like sexual abuse or anything. Like you would think that there's like some pattern of that, but like one guy, good looking dude, great job. And he started watching some of the most disgusting stuff. I'm not going to even say it. And it ruined his life. Like he has an ankle bracelet on for the rest of his life. He can never access the internet. He's labeled as a sex offender. His life is ruined. And so that's one of the worst ones. And I'm just going to talk about the lost potential as a man you could become. I mean, we all, like I say this all the time, the goals you're supposed to achieve, the woman you're supposed to be with, the life you're supposed to live, and the man you're supposed to become is on the other side of that habit. So if you never stop doing that habit, you're never going to get those things or become the man you're supposed to be. And so I think that is one of the most damaging things, is like the lost potential, like being 80 years old or 90 years old on your deathbed, being like, I didn't achieve this, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, I didn't do this. You wasted your life.
Totally, man. Yeah. I think that it will be fair to say that, well, I don't know if in your case, but at least in my case, I look back at like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and I think like, how could my life be right now if I quitted this bad habit a long time ago? And maybe I would be doing, well, it's very probable that I will be doing even better than I'm doing today without porn in my life.
Yeah.
But like a lesson is a lesson, and the best thing you can do is to learn and grow and get better.
I don't know if they say this in Spanish, and I don't know how to say it in Spanish, but like there's an expression in English that's like, don't cry over spilt milk.
Yeah, but I don't know if there's like a direct translation that has the same message in Spanish, but yeah.
But it means like if something happens, don't get upset about it, move forward, right? Clean it up. Yeah. So I get that, man. And I that's why I don't even look at what I could have. I just try to move forward, right? And
yeah, totally. Yeah. But I think it's a good warning sign, at least to keep in mind, just to not go back to the same destructive behavior that has caused just a lot of troubles in every man's life. So how do you think porn, or why, affects your confidence, let's say broadly speaking, your confidence? Why and how?
Yeah. Well, can I relate more confidence to women?
Yep. Totally.
I just did an interview with a Bulldog Mindset. He has a channel, self-development channel. We talked about this a lot, and I came up with 3 reasons. I'm going to make this into a video on the channel where it's like, so when you're watching pornography, it does 3 things, right? So the first thing it does is like, it objectifies women, right? So like, because you don't have to get to know these women, you don't have to have the seduction process. You don't have to get to know their emotions, their dreams, their goals, their hopes, their anxieties, all that stuff. You just boom, immediately to sex. When you see a girl in public, she's an object to you now. She's not a person. She's something to give you sexual gratification. And what happens when she's something to achieve, you put her on this pedestal. And when she's above you in your mind, you literally cannot connect with her, right? You cannot connect. So that's the first thing it does to your confidence. The second thing it does is it makes you a voyeur, right? A voyeur is someone who, like, you're not an active participant in the sex, in the desire, and you're sitting there watching. And so, like, obviously when you see a girl, you're not going to take action because you're used to just watching, looking at the girl. You're not used to going up, talking, doing all that stuff. And I mean, honestly, man, like the self-esteem, like you're seeing like all these other guys, and you're thinking like, do I have to be like them, or do I have to have sex the way they do? And studies even show too that the fourth thing that ruins your confidence is but one of those studies I talked about in that video is the study showed that the more you watch it, the more your sexual desire goes up, but the lower your confidence goes, right? And the lower your sexual satisfaction. Like the study exactly showed that. So like you're going to be at this place where you're super aroused, getting all these urges, but you have no confidence to go talk to a girl and actually pursue her. So yeah,
I think that from there you just go down because you feel bad because you don't have the, let's say, the guts, the confidence to approach women. And the best solution is just open your browser and you go downhill from there. And it's just a cycle that
I didn't even mention testosterone. Like I found a recent study talking about androgen receptors, where that's like where testosterone goes in and out. And we all know that higher levels of testosterone is deeper voice, stronger eye contact. Women just feel that aura from you when you have that higher level of testosterone. It's that dominance. And not only with women, but in the workplace, like you're just going after what you want more when you have higher levels of testosterone. And a lot of guys, if you know this, like we're dropping a percentage point of testosterone on average for men every single year. And the reason why that is, a big influence of that is pornography, of course.
And why does porn have such a direct effect on testosterone? Why?
I don't know. I can't logically. I think I should probably make a video on that and look into it. But like I was just watching the recent study. These guys were talking about it. Like it like you have an immediate boost in testosterone during when you're viewing it, but right after it goes lower. So here's what happens, I think. So with dopamine, it's the same thing, right? Dopamine is that incentive molecule that you know that whenever we do something for survival, eating food, having sex, or achieving a massive goal, which is where your dopamine should be going, you know, you have that immediate boost in dopamine. But after, because it's such a strong boost and it's more than organically usual, what happens is that your receptors have to shut down because like, oh, we get it so easily, we don't have to have more receptors of it. I think the same thing's happening with testosterone. Is like, oh, we can have sex so easily. I don't need to give this guy extra testosterone day by day to go find these real girls because we can get it on this computer. So yeah, I think that's what's going on.
Okay, interesting. So maybe in the same line, how broadly speaking, how do you think porn is affecting the average man's dating life? The average man's dating life. Mm-hmm.
I mean, we kind of already spelled it out a little bit, right? But it's like,
yeah, totally.
It sucks, man. It's like,
but let's say,
Fernando, it's one of the scariest things that I know this. It's one of the scariest things to see a beautiful woman and actually go up to her and face possible rejection. It's one of the scariest things. I know military. Go ahead.
Do you think that has been? How can I say it? That's been the result of consuming too much porn? Because, you know, as men, you know, we all struggle with being rejected. No one likes to be rejected. But do you think that feeling of possible rejection has been accentuated, let's say, by consuming too much pornography?
I mean, yeah, I mentioned the voyeur thing, like the objectification. Like if you see a beautiful girl and you're like, the distance between me and her psychologically, if I haven't been doing this, if I know, my brain knows I could just go home and see thousands of beautiful women just like her naked. I know it's not the same thing, but it's close enough where I don't have to face that rejection. Of course, it's going to be accentuated by it. I mean, for me, it's like a straight line. I could see it very clearly. And yeah, man.
Okay. And well, for the guys that, let's say, haven't struggled too much with their dating life, with getting girls, talking to them, moving things forward, how do you think, or in your experience coaching a lot of men, how does pornography affect intimate, committed, romantic relationships?
Yeah, that one's interesting. Studies actually show that this is actually very controversial, but studies show that like actually if couples watch it together, it could improve their relationship. But I want to find that study to see like what the dynamic was, how it was set up. But what I've seen, there's probably like 1 in 3 men in my program are married men or in a relationship, right? And so they recognize that their erectile dysfunction is probably the biggest thing that causes them, right? So like they just have, they can't get it up with their girlfriend, or they finish way too fast, and it's just poor sex, and it's just nagging like problem in their relationship where they feel like they're not satisfying their woman. And for them, that's like really hurts their self-esteem. It's like their girlfriend patting them on the back, like, yeah, it's okay. You did your best. It's like,
it's not okay.
It's like, you don't feel like manly enough. Like you're not satisfying your woman, right? I think how these guys feel. And some of the other men, it's like they use it for an escape, because we don't watch pornography to meet the same need we get with sex. We don't, right? It's to numb your emotions, right? It's to reduce your anxiety, all those things. And so a lot of these guys, they're kind of sneaking around and they're lying to their girlfriends about how much they're watching it. And it's like this little secret they have. And when you have a secret, something you're hiding with your romantic partner, it prevents you from getting close to her, right? And those are the two ways that I see that in romantic relationships that pornography affects it.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe in speaking about Instagram, what's your opinion about Instagram models, and all the dynamic that goes in the life of a porn addict and using too much social media, and basically Instagram, which I've read a lot of YouTube comments that just basically say, I was browsing Instagram and I just relapse and end up binging like
that's exactly
11 hours of porn.
That's what I was going to say, man. Like I don't have those apps on my phone, or, I don't have those apps. I tell people the programs not have them. And the reason why is because I can't count how many times someone comes onto a group call. And the reason why they relapse is because, oh, I was scrolling through TikTok and I saw this TikTok that triggered me, or I saw Instagram models. And it's like, it literally is like the main trigger for a lot of these guys is the social media. And so, yeah, that's the role it plays. And I mean, talking about dopamine too, right? Like it floods your dopamine systems as well. And so like to feel more like you're like scrolling through Instagram for an hour. How do you feel after scrolling through TikTok or Instagram for an hour? You just feel like empty, like you did nothing, and so you want to go feel something, you're going to go find something with even more dopamine, which is pornography too. So.
Yeah, I think it's maybe one of the biggest triggers for men to watch porn and end up relapsing and just feeling bad overall. Yeah,
I think so, man. Like, and like we talk about the loneliness aspect, like when you're scrolling on Instagram, you're seeing these people like on their stories, like out having fun, doing these fun things, going to these places. You're like, studies show that the more you consume social media, the more your anxiety and depression increases. Direct correlation. Like, yeah, it's a huge factor, man.
Yeah, totally. So, well, I think we can agree that Instagram is a trigger for most men, and they end up relapsing because of it. So for this man that relapse on a consistent basis, what advice do you have for them?
So what overall tips and advice do I have for men that are...
for, let's say, overcoming their negative feelings after every relapse?
Yeah. So I tell guys there's two pillars that hold up the house of success that they want to become this man, right? So there's proactive strategies and reactive strategies. Now, proactive means you're doing them before relapse, which are very important. It's 50% of it. So that's like cold showers, connecting with other men, building your purpose, meditation, all of these things that are going to help reduce the possibility of urges. But the other 50% of it, the other half, is these reactive strategies, Fernando, is like after you relapse, like what do you do immediately? Right? Because a lot of guys, when they feel that shame or that guilt or that isolation or regret, what they do is that they beat themselves up thinking like, why can I not do this? Right. And so they isolate even more, right, from other people, which causes more stress, which causes them to go back to porn. Right. You see that cycle. It's a cycle. And so instead of doing that, if you relapse, like these guys, if you need to connect with someone, you need to open up and say like, hey, I relapsed, like share someone that's on the same journey as you. And when you're able to do that, it immediately erases the shame, and you feel like confident and motivated again to get back on the horse and like do the right thing. And you can also look at your relapse objectively without the emotion. And that means you can like say, this is why it happened and how it happened. So next time I have awareness and I can change it. Because if you don't do that, you're going to go through the same pattern over and over and over again. So connecting with other people that are on the same journey as you is like the number one thing in fighting the relapses.
Okay, so from what I understand, you're saying that something like having a mastermind, having a group of friends, a group of people that are going through this experience should help a lot with overcoming this addiction, or just the relapses.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, the 50% of the relapses, right? Mm-hmm. The 50% of the relapses. Yeah, like like guys in my group calls, when we get on the group calls, if a guy relapses, like we all like think of like 30 other men, right? That are all going through the same journey as you. So they all have different perspectives. And like you say, hey guys, man, like I messed up. And all these guys are trying to help you solve your problem. Like they're going to give you the best advice and motivation. You're going to leave there feeling like, oh my God, I feel supported. Like I feel connected. Right. And that's, I mean, there's no amount of value on that. Like it's amazing. And so when it comes to the relapses, yeah, like connecting with other people, it's everything.
Okay. So in your opinion, how crucial is it to have a support group that will help you go through this addiction and overcome it?
I'm going to make it full circle. We started off saying that like the biggest problem is the isolation piece, right? And so the antidote to that problem is a group of other people and experts helping you and supporting you every step along the way. Like having an accountability partner. Like by all means, you can do this with yourself if you have a friend or someone, but like when you have a system and then like that whole group, a tribe of other men supporting you along the way. I mean, that's the one thing that I found that has been more helpful than anything else with this isolation piece. Yeah,
it makes sense because it's basically the total opposite of loneliness, which is the thing that maybe drives most addictions. And this one is no exception.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, man. And yeah, a lot of guys too, like if you're listening right now and you're thinking like, is it really loneliness? I mean, think about it, man. Like just look at your last relapses. Like, were you feeling stress? It's either you're stressed out, right? It's either stress or loneliness. If you want to make it two possible triggers, I mean, there's more possibly, but like it's one of the two. That's why you're on Instagram, you can't sit with yourself. One of my favorite quotes of all time, Fernando, is a guy named Blaise Pascal. He said, all of humanity's problems could be solved if a man could sit in a room by himself for an hour and do nothing. And like, I think it's maybe an over exaggeration, but like many men can't do that. They can't sit with themselves and be okay. And that's so that we have to go find stimulation or things to distract us, right?
By the way, if you're tired of relapsing and feel completely hopeless about quitting this addiction, then I think you can benefit a lot from Josh Hudson's Dopamine Discipline program. Inside this program, you will learn a revolutionary approach called habit construction therapy that Josh has developed in the past years to help men quit their porn addiction as fast as possible. Inside the program, you will get access to a course that will teach you how to quit porn step by step. But my favorite part is that you will get an accountability partner, an accountability group, and you will also enjoy group therapy sessions, which I believe are the key essential thing that you need if you want to get rid of this addiction fast. If you want to stop suffering and get rid of all the pain that this addiction creates, then I highly suggest you join Josh Hudson's Dopamine Discipline program because it will help you get rid of this addiction fast. So click the link in the description and join Dopamine Discipline right now.
Another question that I have is, why do you think this addiction creates so much shame? Like so much feelings of, oh, I don't like what I'm doing, I don't like myself, or this makes me a bad person.
Yeah. So I've been trying to understand this myself, and I looked at myself. I really talked with clients deep about where this is. And there's two reasons why I think this is. The first one that we already talked about is men know, like we know what's best for us, right? What we have our goals, like everyone has their goals of the man they want to be. We have a vision, whether you know it consciously or not, you have this vision for your life of the man you want to become. And deep down, your higher intelligence knows that when you watch this thing, it's a step backwards, right? You're becoming the opposite of who you want to become, right? And so guilt is I did something wrong. Shame is I'm a bad person. And so like by doing that, you just know like you're cheapening yourself by watching it, right? You're not going towards the harder thing. And as men, we have to go towards things that scare us. It's innate in our deepest conscious brain, like subconscious brain, like to do things that are terrify us, that like approaching that girl, starting that business, right, Fernando, or doing something that's scary. Like, that's why guys, they jump out of a plane and do all these things, because it's like when we live on that edge as a guy, that's when we're growing. And there's something innate in men where it's just like, we have to grow, we have to learn, we have to explore. So there's something deep in us. And when we watch pornography, we know we're cheapening that side of us. I think the other aspect, which is not as I don't say not as powerful, but like a lot of guys are very religious. I have a religious upbringing. Myself, I did too. And we're taught that, we should feel bad when it comes to doing these things. But I don't think that's actually the biggest cause of it. I think it's like the first thing I said about like just cheapening who you are. And that it's like not living towards your highest self. And when we live through that kind of external world, it's just not satisfying and meaningful. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it makes total sense. In your experience, which are the best benefits of quitting porn?
Well, you know,
Give me your top five, top three, whichever you like.
for sure. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the best one, like self-love, man. Like, there's something that happens when you start to really hit that 60-day mark, 90-day mark. And if guys haven't hit it, maybe they've experienced this. Some guys watching it, they hit that mark before. You just, like it can't be explained in words. It's like you just have this feeling that you're being the man you are, and that's like what that unshakable confidence really is. It's like self-acceptance. Because if you're not doing things that make you feel shameful, like I'm a bad person, and you're living congruently with the man you want to become, that's just what creates that rock solid. You walk up to anyone and you just have that clear, like you're not in your head, you're just like with them in the present moment, and you know that you have a lot to offer them as a person, and that takes you further. That gets you the job promotions, that gets you the beautiful wife or girlfriend. That's what makes you connect with other high value people, because they feel that resonance within you, that vibration of just like, I have this self-love within me. So that is the most powerful one, is becoming the man that you want to be. And then I'll go a little bit down on the surface level stuff. So a lot of guys, are single, that come into the course, and it's just like, they all tell stories in the program of like, oh my God, like I went out with some friends the other day, and like girls were just staring at me and like a girl actually walked up to me and started talking to me, and like, she said it was just my aura and vibe was just different. And when your testosterone levels are getting back to normal, like you just have that radiance towards women, and just are you able to make that strong eye contact and have that deep voice and just like connect with them as human beings, not see them as an object. Yeah. Right. And then the third one would have to be, you finally get stuff done. You know what I mean? Like all those things that you put off, like, oh, I want to start this, and you want to start this, you're procrastinating. When you stop wasting your dopamine, that vital energy source of your brain, you're able to utilize it towards all those goals, all those things that you put off. You just start achieving and conquering and just crushing your goals in life. And like what really happens, Fernando, is like, before quitting porn, my top goal was to be a licensed therapist. That's all I wanted to be, right? I climbed that mountain so fast, and I saw that there was bigger mountains that I could climb. And so there, you have ideas for goals and visions that you never even thought possible, because you get to those first goals, that top of that mountain, so fast from all the goals you achieve. You see new things for your life that were not even possible. You're like, oh my God. Like I know so many guys that started their own business after quitting porn in the program. Like they're like, Josh, you could do it. Like you're a normal guy. Like I could do it too. I'm like, yeah, you can. And like, so starting your own business and like having that freedom in life, I think those are the top three, is like the woman, the connecting with women, the goals, and just becoming your higher self.
Yeah, totally. I can totally relate with those. So what would be your best tips, advice for men who would like to get rid of porn addiction? I know this is a very complex, long answer, because addiction is a very complex problem. But what are some tips that you have?
Yeah, man, I'm very practical. I'm a practical guy. Like I think we're all emotional beings at the end of the day. But I would just say, look at your life, look at where you're going, look at your relapses, and say to yourself, what have you tried so far, and has it worked? Right. Mm-hmm. And the definition of insanity. You know what the definition of insanity is, Fernando?
I've heard the quote a lot of times, but I don't remember right now.
It's by Albert Einstein. It's not the exact dictionary definition, but it's he said, oh my God, I'm gonna lose it. Yeah. So like I'm thinking, so like, no, yeah, it's oh my God, doing the same.
It's something along the lines of
the same thing over and over, expecting a different result, right? And like guys watching this, like we've all been insane a little bit, right? It's okay, but like if you truly want to quit porn, you have to do something different. And so I would just look out there and say, like, what is different out there for you? A different strategy that you haven't tried? Have you connected with a bunch of other tribe of other men? Have you found that? Have you tried a system that works? Have you gone to an expert? Have you seen a therapist? Like, what have you not tried yet? And keep on trying new things, because if you do the same thing over and over, willpower, it's never enough. Distracting yourself, it's never enough. Like that's going to get you to those 88 days, and then you're going to relapse if you even get that far. Which I don't know how I did that first time, but sheer willpower. But like, it's never going to help you quit long term. You have to like learn how to quit long term with the right approach. And so, there's lots of ways out to do that. Obviously, I'm biased towards my way, because I've been doing this for 8+ years and working with thousands of men. But like at the end of the day, like just do something different. That's all I say.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so now let's move on a little bit to, because from what I understand, you also have some dating advice for men that
I
they
like
can.
talking about talking to girls. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, yeah, it's very fun, especially after, let's say, getting rid of all the shame that comes with this addiction. Because recently I posted a video about why quitting porn attracts women, and I posted in my English channel, which is this one, Improvement University, and I also have the Spanish version of the channel. And I got a very, let's say, polarized responses, because I got a lot of wow, really, that's amazing, wow, yeah, it also happened to me. But I also got a lot of comments like, oh man, really, do you believe this? Do you really think this is possible, man? Just get money, just get ripped, and all those kinds. Yeah, and it's like, man, that's not enough. I mean, at the end of the day, well, yeah, so why do you think there are men who just, let's say, can't believe that quitting porn just helps with attracting women? Or yeah, what's your opinion on that subject?
They haven't tried it, right? Like, how do you know something if you haven't tried it? Right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, maybe the men who haven't tried it are the ones with the loudest mouth.
Of course.
Yeah, and it's like
there's an English expression for that as well, but I forget. It slips my tongue right now. But yeah, man, of course. Yeah. The majority of people like you are the ones that are like, oh, that's really cool. And then like when you watch a YouTube video, are you always commenting on the video? Or like if it's cool, you go, okay, cool, on to the next one. No, you don't comment, right? So the ones that are like the most upset and emotional about it are they going to be the ones that are the most vocal, of course.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So when it comes to dating, where do you see men struggling the most in the whole dating area, dating aspect?
Yeah,
like from seeing the women they like.
There's two spectrums. There's two spectrums. Either guys lack emotional intelligence and they're kind of too pushy, but I don't help those guys because I wasn't that guy. I was the other end where I was too nice. I was a nice guy.
You were the nice guy.
Dude.
Yeah, like, me too, man.
Okay, let me tell you one quick story that shows how nice I was. There's this girl I had a crush on in all through high school, 9th, 10th grade. Finally, 11th grade, I had a chance to start giving her a ride to school for like 15 minutes on the way to school. I'd pick her up and I'd like, in my mind, I was like, oh my God, these 15 minutes going to school, I'll start to connect with her. She'll start to like me, blah, blah, blah. And it started working, right? And she was like, oh, and she agreed to go on a date with me. And I was super excited, right? And then one day going to school, I slept in and I forgot to pick her up and I fell devastated. I was like, oh no, she had to walk to school for 30 minutes. She's going to hate me. She's never going to talk to me again. So guess what I did? In the middle of class, I got the bright idea. I skipped class. I went out and I bought chocolate and I bought a sorry card. I wrote her in the card, I'm sorry for not picking you up. It'll never happen again. Like I'm excited for our date. And as I say this, I still cringe. Yeah. I walked up to her at lunch and I gave her the chocolate and the card. She's like, oh, she's thinking that this is just to be nice, right? She reads the card. Fernando, I saw the look in her eyes. Like all attraction for me just died in that instant. And I was just like, and then she started dating this like asshole guy, right? That was like, the bad boy. And I was like, I'm a good guy. How come girls don't like me? And like, I see that all the time with men because we think that if we're nice to a girl and we have things in common on an intellectual level, that the girl will like us. And that's a very logical way of thinking. Women are not that way. Attraction is not a choice. It's an emotional process that you have to trigger certain things in a girl to trigger that attraction. And so I see the biggest mistake guys making is that they're overly nice and trying to connect with the girl on this logical place, but the attraction has to come first and then you connect with her on the logical area. And so guys are not focusing on this attraction piece of like being that high value guy, the way you convey it. And the reason why porn helps that so much is because nonverbals are more important than anything else. Not what you're saying. Guys are so fixated on what's the words what do I say to a girl when I first walk up to her? No, I've said the most crazy. I walked up to a girl and started talking about the most random stuff. It doesn't matter what you're saying. She's catching your vibe, especially women. How are you looking at her? What is the tone of voice? How fast are you talking to her? Do you touch her on the arm? Are you leading the conversation? Those are 99. I'm not even exaggerating it. 99% of what's going on. And so a lot of guys don't understand this, and that's why they make mistakes.
Yeah, totally. In the same line, I have a video in which I shared a concept that I learned from Mark Manson, full credit to him, in which he shares that the most attractive thing for women is men's behavior, not actually the words or how much muscle do you have or all that stuff. And yeah, in my experience, I totally, well, let's say, agree with him because, girls just like men who are direct, let's say.
And look, there's so many guys like touching on the money piece or the height or the baldness or the, okay, look, and I know I get a lot of hate on this, and it is what it is. But like, as someone who's always been this tall, I'm 6'4" and I'm decently looking. I was horrible with it. It never helped me. It never helped me ever. I would get guys shorter than me, overweight, that were stealing girls right in front of me. And I was thinking, think of what that did to my self-esteem. I was like, what is wrong? I have the looks. I thought girls should like me. And like, I was like, so I had to find out another reason why. And that's why I developed I did my thesis on short-term mating selection of women, basically why girls hook up with guys, like why they choose certain men. And I spent thousands of hours on that just to figure it out, right? Too. So I was obsessed with it as well. And yeah, man, it's not your looks. Like the reason why people think money works, Fernando, is this. So you have certain laws on yourself, what makes you feel good enough as a person, right? And these laws are sometimes placed on us by culture. And so what happens is like, okay, society says as soon as I make 6 figures or as soon as I have this body, it allows me to feel a certain way about myself, right? So you're putting this law on yourself. And so once guys get that money, then they can feel good enough. But the thing is like, you don't have to have that law there. You can just feel good enough the way you are. And once you do that, the girl picks up on that. And that's what's attractive, not the actual money.
Yeah, totally, man. Well, let's say that a average man wants to become more attractive. Which are the areas that he should invest right now to get the best return for his effort?
Yeah, he should make more money. He should get tall. No, just kidding.
Get hair,
yeah, man. Like, I don't like surface level stuff. I know a lot of you guys like that stuff. I like going deep, and there's deep underlying beliefs guys have about why they're not enough for these girls. I like going to the core of the problem, the roots. And because if you don't pull out the root and see what's going on down there, it's going to keep on growing the same way. You're going to get the same result. So a lot of guys growing up, they got some feedback from society saying that they weren't good enough for whatever reason, maybe from mom, maybe from girls growing up or whatever it is. Once you find those root problems and then you kind of shift them and change them, you start to feel good enough. You walk up to a girl and you're like, I am good enough the way I am. And then on the practical level, what really works is just, I think the biggest piece I can give guys right now is is just getting okay with rejection. That when a girl rejects you, she doesn't know you. A lot of guys take it so personal. Like you talk to the girl for 5-10 minutes. Like, does someone truly know you after a 5-minute conversation?
No.
And most of these guys aren't even sharing who they actually are. They're talking about, where are you from? What are you doing? And it's like interview mode. And the girl's like, oh, I'm busy, blah, blah, blah. And the guy's like, oh, she rejected me. It's like, no, she didn't. She didn't even know you. Like my first girlfriend, my first girlfriend in college, I wanted to marry this girl. The first time I walked up to her, Fernando, she listened to me for 5 minutes and then she really just turned around and walked away.
Oh, man.
Then I went up to her a couple months later and I was like in a positive state and everything. And I ended up dating her. So it's like rejection is never like a final thing. And guys take it so painful. And I get it. But like, if you never talk to girls, it's like this monumental thing that you're building up in your head that's going to happen to you. And it's like, once you like walk up to a girl and you're able to get rejected by her and you realize it's not about you, it's like, oh, you have this freedom to like express yourself the way you want. And quitting porn actually really helps that, obviously.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, because porn makes you like put women on a pedestal.
Yes,
totally. So yeah. Would you define confidence, broadly speaking, as being good, as feeling good enough?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's broadly defined as like being competent in a certain area. Like confidence is situational, right? So, like, for example, like, let's say I'm really good. So I like playing soccer. So like, I'm more confident in the soccer field than if I walk into on a baseball field with a bunch of pros, I would feel not as confident, right? But if I was on a soccer field, I would feel more confident. But there's something called core confidence. Now that core confidence is knowing that you're good enough as a person, no matter where you are, what you're doing. Mm-hmm. That's harder to achieve, right? Yeah. That's like looking within yourself at the roots. But I would define confidence as just feeling that you're just good enough, man. Like you accept yourself the way you are. Like think of the most confident people you know. Everyone knows that one guy who's like overweight, balding, but he's just fun and like doesn't care about anything. Like that's what confidence is, right? It's like not caring people's opinion about
and yourself. Why do you think women like confident men so much?
Yeah, from an evolutionary point, well, not only does it makes them feel good, right? Like so there's something called state transference. Right. Mm-hmm. And, or it's called emotional contagion effect, where if we feel how the other person feels, before we could talk to people, we were all about nonverbal stuff. Right. And so like when you're around someone who's feeling anxious, you walk up to a girl and you're feeling that anxiety, she feels it too. And that's what she's not rejecting you. She's rejecting that anxiety within you. That's what she's rejecting. Okay. But like when you're relaxed and you don't feel like you need to prove yourself, the girl picks up on that and she feels good. And from an evolutionary point of view, confidence led to you being able to protect her more, because when that tiger came along, right, and was going to attack her and your guys' baby, if you were anxious, you run away and she get eaten, right? But if you're confident, you're going to go fight that tiger, right? And you're going to protect her. And so from an evolutionary point of view, confidence signals protective abilities as well.
Okay. Yeah. And maybe this is the main question. As men, how do we become more confident, especially approaching women? Yeah. Or interacting with them, moving things forward? Like, yeah, this is a very broad question, but how can men become more confident? What's your opinion on that?
I mean, yeah, we could do a whole conversation just on this alone.
Totally.
Yeah, I'm trying to think how to narrow down to a simple answer. Well, I already mentioned the like viewing rejection differently, right? There's all these beliefs you have about women, about yourself, about what it means to be attractive, all these things that were given to you by a society. And it's like a blueprint you have in your own mind, right? And the thing is that you can go in and you can change that blueprint. No one really does this. You know, I'll just give one example. And like, let's say you say to yourself that like a girl doesn't hook up with a guy that's, that's shorter than her, right? And so that's a rule that you made up and you've heard from other people and it reconfirms that rule. It's a confirmation bias. And so you can go in and you can actually see that there's plenty of people out there in the world, guys that are shorter than the girls they're with, plenty. But like, for whatever reason, you feel a lack of confidence when you're talking to a girl taller than you because you're saying to yourself, I'm not good enough. But if you can see other situations where that's not true, and then you can like change that in your mind and then test it out immediately. When you're walking up to that girl that's taller than you, you're thinking to yourself, just, I am enough. I am enough. There's no reason why I'm not enough. And you're able to, and you see that your shift in the way that you think and act, it affects the way that she reacts to you. You're like, holy crap. It's like you kind of see the matrix. I can control what I think about myself. And then other people react differently to me, right? Because everyone reacts to you the way you feel about yourself, right? We're all projection. We're all lens, right? So the way people are treating you is actually how you treat yourself. So if you change the relationship with yourself by questioning your beliefs, everything else changes. It's the internal reflects the external results in life, right? So it's kind of like that.
Okay, interesting. And let's say that there's a guy who wants to find a girlfriend, wants to get in a committed relationship, a healthy committed relationship. What are some traits that you would advise him to look for in a woman?
You mentioned Mark Manson in his book Models. He says a quote that stuck out to me more than any other. He said, the only thing you have in common with the woman you date is you, right? So you said healthy woman, right? Which is very key because you have to look at like the type of woman you are attracted to. And you have to see like, why would you be attracted to certain women? A lot of guys, especially myself, when I was first doing this, I wouldn't want to be with girls that had problems because I could help them. It was a challenge. I could heal them, right? And so like, you have to know exactly what you want, right? Because women follow the man's lead more than anyone else. So like, if you're walking into a girl and you're not sure if you actually like her, like, is she too good for me? Do I really like her? Would I really date her? She feels that incongruency. And that's what causes her to reject you or you to reject herself. And so knowing what you really want out of a woman is very important. And a lot of guys don't know this. They're like, oh, I just want a woman that's attractive enough. And by your lack of standards, you're seeking her validation. It should be the other way around. It's called flipping the script, right? It's like a little technique you can use on a girl. So when you're walking up to a girl, you're thinking, do I like her? Instead of thinking, does she like me? You think, do I like her? Are we going to connect with her hobbies and my hobbies, right? So just flipping the script in itself allows you to be the selector, and the girls will follow that, and you have more options. That from those more options, you can figure out what you really want, which leads to a better relationship.
Okay, interesting. So let's move on to the final questions, which are very quick questions. Okay. So here it goes. So if you could teach one thing to everyone on the planet, what would it be?
It's so hippie, but like learn to accept yourself. And when I say that, like the one thing I learned about therapy and like changing people's behavior, which is essentially what I do, it's a paradox. People think that if I don't accept myself, it allows me to like change because I'm not accepting where I'm currently at. It's quite the opposite. When you fully accept who you are and your plot in life and everything that you are, to the, like not in here, but like in here, in tu corazón, in your heart, right? Like I accept who I am. That's what allows you to move forward and become the man you want to be. So self-acceptance.
Sounds great. Okay. The idea that has changed your life the most is?
This one's going to be a little out there for people, but there's a guy named Alan Watts. Do you know who he is, Fernando?
No.
Kind of. He changed my life. He's a dead British philosopher. That life's a game, right? And it's this giant game, and like who you are, who we are. It's kind of it's from like Vedic, ancient Hindu philosophy and Buddhist philosophy that like this is just a giant game for us to play, and that we're playing these characters of our ego, of ourself. Like I'm not really Josh, not really Fernando. It's your ego, and we're all connected to like God, and like this is just a game, and like it's not really permanent. And the ego plays this idea that all your problems are like bigger than they actually are. And so when you can have this perspective that like nothing really matters, it's called nihilistic optimism, where like nothing matters, not in a bad way where I'm just going to ruin my life, but like it's just a game. Like money's just a game. Money is just numbers on a screen. Like, you know, like all this stuff, like women are just other people. And like, it kind of makes you kind of float around life, just like light, like nothing's really a huge issue. You know what I mean? And that lesson alone, when I really got it from listening to Alan Watts, he explains it way better than I can, 1,000 times better. It just clicked with me one day. And I felt like I was literally floating through life. Everything was just effortless. And that's what led me to like start the business, meet my dream girl, all this stuff is because like there's like no attachment to the outcome of things. You're like, you know what? I'm just going to talk to this girl, see what happens. Like my favorite quote of all time, Fernando, is just, we will see. We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah. Oh, that girl's going to reject you. We'll see. Dude, what if you start a business, you're going to fail? We'll see. Maybe. Like just, yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Let's just jump out of that plane and see what happens. That's kind of my attitude.
Nice approach. Okay, so
it's working so far, I guess.
Yeah, you're doing good, man. So what's the thing that everyone in the planet should do more of?
Listen. Yeah.
Okay.
We're all when we're talking to people, we're not truly listening. We're kind of waiting for our turn to talk, you know? And as a therapist, like it's my job to listen to people. And if you truly like with the next person that you're talking to, whoever's listening to this, the next person you're talking to, like you can hear their words, but like just really fully see how they're feeling, like be with them in the moment and just see how powerful that is, like to truly connect with someone and to see them for who they really are, not with like the labels you're trying to say, like, oh, they're this gender, they're this name, they're this stuff. Like see them more than their labels, see them as the person they are. It's really powerful.
Well, I hope I'm doing a good job listening right now. So, and the last question, if you could have coffee today with someone you admire, who would it be?
Dead or alive? Does it matter?
You choose.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll do dead and alive. So dead Alan Watts, already mentioned him. He was just, if you guys, like I read that like over 1,000 books by now, like Alan Watts is the person I recommend the most to shift just the way you see the world. But alive, ooh.
Mm-hmm.
That one's hard, man. I would have to say maybe Cristiano Ronaldo or I love Ronaldo.
Lionel Messi.
Or Messi. I mean, Messi. Okay, so like Messi is, I think he's better than Ronaldo, but I don't think he'd be fun to talk to. I think he's kind of boring. Like,
it's very introverted.
On the field, yeah, he's very introverted, right? So like, but like Ronaldo is like more eccentric. It'd be fun to talk to him. Or maybe some comedian out there that I really like. I'm not sure which one. Larry David. Do you know who Larry David is?
No.
He's the one who created the show Seinfeld. He has a show called Curb Your Enthusiasm. The guy is the funniest guy. I think just sitting down with him for an hour, just talking, like I'd be like dying on the floor, literally dying on the floor laughing. So yeah, probably him.
Okay.
By the way, make sure to check out the links in the description of this video with which you can watch Josh Hudson's free webinar that will give you a fast start to quit your porn addiction, and there's also a link to join Dopamine Discipline, which is Josh Hudson's exclusive program that will help you quit your porn addiction right now.
Well, I really appreciate your time and thank you so much for talking with me today. I really hope all the people who watch this interview get a lot of value, because there is a lot of value in this interview. So yeah, thank you so much for talking with me today, Josh. Appreciate it a lot.
I had a great time. Same.
Well, take care.
Thanks.
Bye.